Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
We finally have a resolution to the Brandon Aiyuk saga, and it's the one that both the player and the team seem to have wanted. Also, the Falcons' moves can't beat the Bucs, and the SEC is Georgia's to lose, right? Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
It feels like it's been 84 years since the Brandon Aiyuk saga began. We finally got a resolution on Thursday as he signed a contract extension with the 49ers. Locked On 49ers host Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker were already live when the news broke, so they learned about it in real time on their live stream.
What is the breaking news with the San Francisco 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk?
So here we go. Adam Schefter says there will be no trade. The 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk reached an agreement today on the 4-year extension that will contractually tie the wide receiver to the San Francisco 49ers for the next 5 seasons per ESPN sources. The drama is over and the deal, not a trade, is in place. Let's go. He goes on to say Brandon Aiyuk's offseason included a public trade request, tweeting at Mike Tomlin, posting pictures with Daniels, sharing a FaceTime with Daniels, saying they don't want me back, getting permission to negotiate contract with other teams. In the end, both sides came together and Aiyuk signed a long-term deal with the San Francisco 49ers. Hey, vibes a little bit up now. I don't know if y'all heard that in my voice, but the vibes are a little up now.
The vibes have just taken a 180-degree turn. Brandon Aiyuk back just in the nick of time to be able to get over a week's worth of practice to get on the field and get ready to play week 1 for the San Francisco 49ers. A 4-year deal worth, it's looking like what, $120 million, Croc? So around $30 million per year on this contract. The 49ers were willing to go to 30, and it has been done. 4 years, $120 million contract for Brandon Aiyuk with the San Francisco 49ers. Wow. It is finally done. The Brandon Aiyuk saga is over, and it only took until August 29th to happen. And it happened live on the air here on Locked On 49ers. $76 million guaranteed, it looks like, for Brandon Aiyuk too, which is a pretty good chunk. It's not the $100 million guaranteed that CeeDee Lamb got, but $76 million of a 120 contract is a nice little guarantee. So Trent Williams, you're up next. Brandon Aiyuk is done. That deal is done, and he will remain a San Francisco 49ers. All hugs, all good. I can't wait to hear what everybody says about it, what everybody is doing on the field when he jumps back on the field. So, wow, the saga is over. Brandon Aiyuk back with the San Francisco 49ers. All right, now what's the line for the Monday Night Football game against the New York Jets, Croc?
I think it's a true 3.5 in favor of the Niners. A true 3.5. I feel much better. My vibes, I'm not gonna lie. We've been talking about this and stuff, and I've been a little, but I will say this. Let's see how people's tune changes towards Brandon Aiyuk. See, my tune towards him never changed. It's, hey, I want him with the 49ers. There have been a lot of people that have been on the other side. Oh, just let him go. He's a diva. He's this, he's that. And now, what are those same people doing? They got the same smile on their face that I have. I guess now the only thing is Trent Williams.
Hold on. I love this report from Diana Rossini. The ending that many around the league knew would happen. The San Francisco 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk stay together, a new deal, and the saga ends. What are you talking about? Everyone around the league knew what happened. All we saw were reports for months and weeks about Brandon Aiyuk potentially getting traded. He wants to be out. Who's going to be in on it? Who's going to be out on it? I don't know. I thought that one was pretty funny. Everyone always knew. We had a feeling, Croc. We were still like over 50%. The last time we did our check, what was it? 51% chance Brandon Aiyuk back. After yesterday, that's when I thought, man, this is getting really weird. And I think there might have to be some fines levied down. And I wonder if that was the final thing. It was like, look, here's a good offer. We're going to start fining you if you're not back. And you finally accept the deal. $30 million per year. That's a good deal. That's where it should be, right?
30. That's where.
So he got more.
So the thing that makes me a little, it's like, y'all couldn't have got this done earlier. Then we had to deal with all this.
Stay up to date on the 49ers all year long by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On 49ers on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Thanks for making Locked On Sports Today your first listen. Coming up, the NFC South will be run by the Buccaneers once again. Before we get to that, Steph Curry is getting a raise. Game Time makes getting to the ballpark even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and their best price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. They're obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets. Game Time has deals right up to the start of the event and even after it starts, up to an hour. It's the place to find last-minute seats. Find exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the free app and new users can get $20 off their first purchase with code Locked On. Terms apply. That's code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, the lowest price guaranteed. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Week 0 was just a nice amuse-bouche for college football. So when week 1 started on Thursday night, oh baby, did it start. On the opening kickoff, the first play of the season between Bowling Green and Fordham, Justin Pegues returned it 100 yards for a touchdown. And just like that, college football season is truly off and running. Steph Curry made a splash into a bit more cash on Thursday. At this point, he's just like Scrooge McDuck into the vault. The Golden State Warriors legend adds another year onto his deal, which will now keep him in a Warriors uniform through the 2026-27 season. He will make $62 million that season, and that's just on the court. He becomes the third NBA player, along with LeBron James and Kevin Durant, to pass $500 million in career earnings. And the Reds got their most improbable win of the season to avoid being swept by the A's.
Well, a horrible series will be remembered for the way that it ended for the Cincinnati Reds. What's up? This is Jeff Carr from the Locked On Reds podcast. And the Cincinnati Reds lost the series to the Oakland A's 2 out of 3. But it was the way that they won the third game where, quite frankly, they didn't deserve to win. In fact, most of the game, any runs that they scored were gifted to them via walks. They scored 3 different times with the bases loaded on walks. And in fact, they had they were out hit by the A's. A's had 11 hits, Reds only had 7. But they got the hits when they needed them the most. 2 C&I singles back-to-back. Tyler Stevenson to score the 8th run of the game, and then TJ Friedel to score the 9th and the 10th run of the game with his C&I single through the right side. Sometimes baseball is funny like that, and sometimes funny baseball benefits the Reds.
The NFC South has seen the Buccaneers dominate in recent years, but the Falcons made a flurry of offseason moves to try and upend that regime. Will it work?
Honestly, it's a 2-horse race in my opinion, but I think the Buccaneers win it again. There's no reason that they shouldn't win it again. They bring in Liam Cohen as the offensive coordinator who has a history with Baker Mayfield. He comes from the Sean McVay tree. He's going to put a lot of power in the hands of the the Buccaneers offensive leaders. And then, you take a look at what they did. Everyone talks about, they're just running it back. Well, if any other team in the NFL had signed Mike Evans, Tristan Wirfs, Antoine Winfield Jr., and Baker Mayfield, and let's go ahead and throw in Jordan Whitehead, they'd be talked about as offseason champs. So this is a team that's been together now. They're comfortable with one another. They're running a similar offense with a couple of little, variations here and there. You add in a much better offensive line, which is going to be huge. And, the Buccaneers can go toe to toe with any other team, in this division pretty easily.
Yeah. Like the New Orleans Saints finished in second place last year, and I don't see them finishing in first place this year. I just haven't seen anything from this New Orleans Saints team. It's really exciting that they've got this new offense and stuff like that, but I don't feel like their roster has improved. And I don't know if Derek Carr is going to be able to execute the new offense and things like that. So I'm really curious to see how New Orleans finishes, but I don't think they're going to be challenging for first. I think I agree with you, James. I think it's going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers cleaning up again. I think that the opportunity to continue when it comes to continuity, that there's value in that. There's very much value in keeping a team together, even with a new offensive scheme. Liam Cohen, absolute genius. Very much looking forward to seeing what Tampa's going to be able to do. And I think that they'll finish up at the top of the NFC South. But Aaron, over at Locked On Falcons, I feel like you have a different way that you might go with this one, because the Falcons have had quite an exciting offseason, if we're being honest.
That they have. And I'm going to say the thing I said last year on the division preview. Of course, it's going to be the Atlanta Falcons that win the division. That didn't age particularly well a year ago, but it's going to age beautifully this year. You just keep repeating the same takes over and over, and eventually you'll get it right with the Atlanta Falcons finally winning the division, I think, for the first time since 2016 maybe. So I think the Falcons adding Kirk Cousins, obviously that gives them a lot more stable quarterback play, something that has been sorely missing from this team over the last couple of years. They just picked up a couple of big time defensive pieces in Matthew Judon and Justin Simmons, the pass rusher and safety respectively. That's going to enhance their defense and get it to a respectable level. And with the weapons that they have that, has been much, hyped over the last couple of years, that they've used a lot of top 10 picks on with Bijan Robinson and Drake London and Kyle Pitts, and Pitts is healthy this year and all those things. And you have Zach Robinson. I think that probably all these teams in the NFC South have new offensive coordinators. Everybody's kind of excited about what their guy is going to bring to the table. But, maybe I'm biased, but I'm particularly more excited about what Zach Robinson is going to bring to Atlanta, bringing that Sean McVay style offense to Atlanta. And I think he's going to be able to maximize all the pieces that the Falcons have acquired this offseason. And that will give the Falcons, that leg up going into week 18 where they have to play the Carolina Panthers and, have to get a win in your in sort of situation. And, knowing the Falcons, you can't trust them in those situations. But I think this year they will finally pull it off and they will emerge victorious in the NFC South.
I love what the Atlanta Falcons did. They went out and they got a great quarterback this offseason. Unfortunately for them, timing-wise, they signed Kirk Cousins first, but I'm excited to see what Julian Council, Locked On Panthers. How do you see this division shaking out at the top?
Yeah, I agree with James. And you guys are saying this is probably going to be a two-horse race between Tampa and Atlanta this season. I do like what Atlanta's done, bringing in Kirk Cousins. He's probably the best quarterback in this division. Now, that's not necessarily saying that much, considering Derek Carr. He's had his struggles back when he was with the Raiders, and so far his first year also down in New Orleans. I love what Baker Mayfield was able to do last season with Dave Canales as his play caller, and the fact that he does have that relationship with Liam Cohen dating back to their brief time back with the Rams. That should help the transition there, as he's now seemingly, I guess, their quarterback for the next couple of years. I don't know how long-term that's going to be. I think Kirk's the best, though, and there's a lot of enticing pieces there.
Follow the battle for the NFC South by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today, Locked On Bucs, Locked On Saints, Locked On Panthers, and Locked On Falcons on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Also, remember, we have previews for every division, so go check them out if you are trying to find a specific division. They're there. They're in your podcast feed, or you can search for them, of course, wherever you get podcasts. Coming up, can anyone beat Georgia? Hey, it could happen. Georgia is just too good, right? There's no way they lose the SEC, right? Our Locked On hosts in the SEC discuss how it could happen.
Great. All at once. Awesome.
Yeah, that's what I wanted in a full panel response. All right, guys, we're going to jump into it and make some predictions Just what's a prediction about your team and the game they're playing this weekend? We're not asking for scores. We're just give me a prediction of something that's going to happen in your game this weekend. Zach, let's start with Auburn because they got a cupcake.
Yeah, hosting Alabama A&M. Not Peyton Thorne starts his Heisman run. No, I'm kidding. I think we feel hope on the Plains for the first time in several years. I think we get a feeling of hope, what could look like a competent, modern-day college football offense returning to the Plains.
Brandon Olson, Florida Gators, they got Dead Man Walking and Billy Napier. What's the vibe this weekend?
That the Florida Gators are going to start this year with a ranked win. They're going to start off 1-0 against top 25 teams. Who'd have thought?
Would certainly be a huge feather in his cap knowing what's coming on the back end of the
Shake your head no all you want, boys. Shake your head no all you want. That's fine. You'll find out.
I got coin on that. Let's go.
Yeah, you'll find out.
Stephen Willis, big year for Lane Kiffin, the Ole Miss Rebels, preseason, ranked as high as they've ever been, and man, oh man, a tough one against Furman out of the gates.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to really be great for the fan base because they get to see that number one transfer class on the field. I do not think it's going to be a very tough game, but it should be a whole lot of fun to see the Rebs because they haven't seen them since Penn State.
John Miller, quick thought. Mizzou, they get a Thursday night opener against a cupcake, but Eli Drinkwitz, the company, they're feeling really good. Preseason number 11 and number 10's already taken an L.
That's right. Yeah, we move up a spot, haven't even played a game. You got to love that. But the thing with Missouri in week one, I think Missouri has one of the best offenses in the country, or it will in 2024, but they don't run at warp speed. So this 47.5-point spread, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. I think Missouri wins easily, but not by that much. So take that advice for what you will.
Marler over there in Columbia. It's Old Dominion. Couldn't even point out where Old Dominion is on a map, but the Lenore Sellers era gets underway.
They're the Monarchs, so I'm pretty sure they are over in England, but I could be wrong about that. I haven't done a ton of research this week. I think the one thing I'm looking forward to the most outside of Lenore Sellers, that defensive line and the edge rushers. I think it's a unit that struggled a lot last year. But Old Dominion gave up like 61 or 63 sacks a year ago, so they might be able to reach like a quarter of their season output a year ago in game one.
It's going to be interesting to see how good Lenore Sellers is for the Gamecocks. Clint, man, Georgia, they're going to keep this train rolling, and they get a tough opponent in Clemson, and yet here they are, been sitting about 2 touchdown favorites over them and a really good Clemson team.
Yeah, that's right. I think the thing we're looking forward to is Georgia regaining the defense that we had before the last 2 years. We slipped last year, according to Kirby standards. I think we're going to see back to what 2, 3, 4 years ago defense was like for Georgia. Be excited for that. Clemson doesn't have the offense that they should be having, so I think this is going to be a good time for Bulldogs fans everywhere to see the new and improved defense that Kirby Smart has.
Yeah, but they give up like 20-something points a game, and suddenly they were slipping defensively there at Georgia. Jonathan, Longhorns, they get Colorado State, not the toughest opponent to open up with, but a good kind of easy way to start the season 1-0.
Yeah, a couple bold predictions. I don't think Texas will go to double overtime with Colorado State like Colorado and Deion Sanders did last year. And the most popular player on the team, Arch Manning, will score his first touchdown in a Texas jersey this Saturday. A couple bold predictions. Texas will have a lot of fun on the field in DKR this weekend before things get tough next weekend at Michigan.
Matt Moscona, LSU. I've got a prediction. This will be one of the rare cities where the LSU faithful will not drink the city dry before the game starts.
Maybe not the city, but the stadium. I wouldn't rule that out. I think for all the talk about Garrett Nussmeier and the receivers, I think LSU is going to run the ball more than they throw it this weekend.
Stay up to date on the Southeastern Conference all year long by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On SEC on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Also, check out our college football previews wherever you get podcasts. And finally, baseball. We now have a blueprint for ceremonial first pitches. There's too many of these before a given game, by the way, but I digress. The Los Angeles Dodgers had Shohei Ohtani's dog carry a baseball from the pitcher's mound to home plate, where Ohtani was positioned like a catcher. Decoy, Ohtani's dog, then almost half-tossed the ball to Ohtani. You know how dogs do. And Ohtani grabbed it. It's the best. What? Dogs forever. I decree that Locked On Sports Today supports the official change from ceremonial first pitch to the ceremonial first pup. Make it happen, Major League Baseball. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up on the next Locked On Sports Today, will LSU or USC begin the season 0-1? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on Sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.